welcome to Pack West Bassin. I'm Shane. Do you like fishing crankbaits but don't like how many fish you lose every time you hook up? I got a few tips and tricks that will help you modify your baits to help you increase your catch by at least 50%.
You are watching my educational and informational channel about bass fishing and all topics related to bass fishing. Click that subscribe button and bell icon to get notifications when I upload a new video.
Throwing one of these all day is probably one of my favorite patterns for catching bass, both largemouth and smallmouth, mainly smallmouth. But the one thing I really don't like about them is how many fish you lose throwing crankbaits. Not as bad as topwater, but you lose just as many on a crankbait. There are a few things that I came across in my experience of how to modify these baits to catch way more fish that you hook up on. Okay, here are two identical crankbaits. Both of these are Strike King 8XD. I used larger baits so it would show a larger profile in the picture. So, a few things about this stock bait is this is one of the only ones that I've thrown that actually come stock with a oval split ring in the front. That's one of the first things I will modify is put an oval split ring on it. Smaller crankbaits, some of the Norman deep baby ends and the 1/4 ounce ones, I won't as much as I do the larger crankbaits or the deep diving ones, but I still find that as an essential piece. So another thing about these crankbaits is how thick the shank of the hook is. To me, that's way too thick and just doesn't stay pinned in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. So the way I modify these is I'll start with the back of the bait. The very back treble hook. How many times have you had a fish come up, absolutely smack your crankbait, you get them all the way to the boat to realize they are skin hooked on the back hook? More than you probably want to admit. And the one problem with the back hook is leverage. With that split ring in there, as soon as that fish goes to turn, you get about 3/4 of a turn and that hook just pops right out. The way to alleviate that is to put a double split ring on. This is my modified bait. I put 2 split rings on the back. Look how much more free range motion you get. You get about 2.5 turns before it actually starts to move. That just gives you that much more of an advantage when that smallmouth comes flying out of the water and does 6 cartwheels before landing back. We've all seen them do it. We've all watched our crankbait fly back at us when it happens. This will just prevent that a little better than normal. Now another thing I'll do is the front hook. The front hook I will always have red. And I always use the Owner KVD, the shorts, the EWGs. Some people don't like using EWGs on crankbaits. For me, I always use them. I like the shorts. They can't hook on each other when you cast. Nothing's more annoying than making a super long cast just to find your bait not working because the hooks are fouled up on each other. But the red hook, what that does is it gives the bass something to target. When that bait's coming through, it contrasts to the main body enough to the point where they can target it. It's a lot like the feather hook on the back of a Zara spook or a popper. It gets their attention away from the other hook. A lot of the times when I have a front hook that's red, the fish will come up and smash it and basically freight train it right in the middle, and they end up getting both hooks. That way you're not stuck with a fish that's skin hooked on just the back and hoping you don't pop that one hook out. So the hooks, I usually go one size higher, go up one size compared to what the stock hook is, and it also depends on the bait. If it's a smaller bait, one size up on that hook could really make it not run correctly. So each bait's going to be individual on what size hook you want. But in this case, I figured the hooks were big enough on this one compared to the stock ones, and so I didn't have to upsize them. But the wire is just a bit thinner that I think gets better penetration for that fish that just comes up and just swipes at it. I just think that it takes less force for this hook to go into that fish than it does with that thick of a hook. So that's my crankbait setup. Some people like it, some people won't. But to me, I feel it has increased my catch ratio of fish that strike my bait up to 50%. So the main reason I started modifying baits like this to hold more fish, catch more fish, goes back to, I believe it was 2014, October, Osoyoos Lake. Sean Smith and I were fishing day one of the Okanagan Classic, and we already had 5 fish all over 5 pounds. We had 25, 26 pounds, something like that. And the wind started blowing about 30 miles an hour and about 3-foot rollers. We got into a crankbait bite that was absolutely insane. About every third cast, we were hooking a smallmouth that was minimum 4.5 to 5 pounds. We had multiple 6-pounders. And every time, as soon as we would set the hook, we could almost count to 3, and that fish would come cartwheeling out of the water, 3, 4, 5 feet in the air, spinning, doing whatever it could to throw that hook. They were crazy active that day. And using dead stock crankbaits, we lost 3/4 of those fish because of their acrobatics. We probably had a 25, 26 pound bag. I don't remember exactly what it was. We lost at least a 27, 28 pound bag of just huge fish that threw our baits. So after coming home from that tournament, we ended up winning. It didn't affect the outcome, but it got me thinking, what can I do to increase my catch ratio? Anything to increase it even 1% could be that difference between that one fish, that one day, for that one check. So I got to look at what a lot of pros do to modify their baits. I took tips from Brett Ayler, Kevin Van Dam, watched many different videos, Rick Clunn, David Fritz, guys that are very respected crankbait fishermen. And this is pretty much what I put together. And since I started doing this to my crankbaits, I would say my catch ratio is up at least 50% compared to what it was before using stock hooks, stock everything. The big contributor, I think, is that back split ring. Just having the ability to spin around 2.5 times before any leverage on that hook, I think really helps out. So that's my lesson for the day.